Kyle here from TechZulu with Juan, of the CEO of .co. Juan, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in .co.
Hey, Kyle, first, thanks for bringing me on the show. I appreciate it.
Of course.
A little bit about myself. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, I guess, very much like yourself. I live and breathe entrepreneurship from a very young age. I started my first tech company in '99, right around the time of the bubble, right around the peak of the bubble. It's a great time to start a company. Went bankrupt. Had to, let go of all our employees, but actually we kept our technology running, and that was pretty smart thing to do because believe it or not, it was a search engine, and that search engine sort of started to grow organically, particularly in Latin America, so Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina. So around 2002, end of 2002, we decided to give it another shot with the same company, the same name. I started hiring people again, and we started doing really well. So we built a pay-per-click network very similar to AdWords and Overture, if you remember Overture. So became the leaders of that business in Latin America. Established myself in Brazil. I actually moved from Miami to Brazil to build out our headquarters there. Learn how to speak Portuguese, and in 2004, 2005, Google and Yahoo were competing for global dominance of that market. As you know, 90-something% of Google's revenues are all pay-per-click based from AdWords. Mm-hmm. So that was a pretty competitive time between those two companies. And when they decided to enter Latin America, we were there. We had established ourselves there as the leaders, and were acquired by Yahoo in early 2005. So it's a pretty crazy roller coaster ride from funding the company in the middle of the bubble to going bankrupt to starting it up again and then selling it in a very short period. It was a great experience, and ever since I've been in love with entrepreneurship and particularly the internet, starting companies online. It's just amazing. So. One of the experiences that I had while doing this was, and something that I think every entrepreneur online can relate to, is the difficulty of finding a name, right? So we're all wake up in the middle of the night sweating, oh my God, I've got this crazy idea. We go type it into one of these domain name companies, and we can't find it, right? It's taken either by a cyber squatter or a domainer or it's being used, whatever the case. And I experienced that quite a bit. It's particularly after selling the company. I went nuts trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do next? And so that's where the sort of the idea for .co was born. I can't take credit for the idea of .co on its own, but it was the moment when the opportunity came up to take a look at this country code, which is essentially the country code of Colombia. And look at it instead of as a country code, look at it as a global opportunity for anybody who wants to get online. So just, the fact that it's short, it stands for company, it's SEO friendly, it's good for mobile and social, so everything that's happening on mobile and social, you want your name to be shorter. So all these things sort of converge, and we said, wow, there's something really big there, and that became my next venture. So,
it's interesting, you kind of mentioned how it started being a country code and now standing for company. As we see with multiple vanity URLs, .ly, everybody feels like they have to have some kind of vanity code or URL, but with .co, it's not just the vanity; it's actually standing for a company, and it came at a perfect time. I mean, for you guys, when you guys came to market. I myself had the same issue as you, trying to find a name. Everybody had something taken, and you had to start getting creative. And now, it provides a market for something in a company space. So I think you guys got in at the right time. I really, I'll give you guys credit for that.
Yeah, thank you. And I think So the demand is clearly there. We launched in July of 2010, a little over a year and a half ago, and we've been growing very, very fast. We're a little over 1.3 million domain names registered already, and we're not cheap. Keep that in mind. Compared to some of our peers, .com, .net, .org, we are actually probably, in most cases, we're about 3 times more expensive, 2 to 3 times more expensive for a registration. And the reason for that is from the outset, when we founded the company, we said we want to build a global brand. We want to build a space that is synonymous with opportunity and innovation, and that is not filled with crap. Frankly, we feel that an entrepreneur, a real business is okay paying a bit extra for the right web address. Right. The problem with the domain name space in general is that domain names are so cheap. They're artificially priced low because of certain regulations and the history of the domain name space and whatnot. We decided to go against and say, we're going to price ours a little bit more expensive so that it deters this massive warehousing of domains that has been happening in .com and .net, .org, etc. And really have quality websites built on .co. And I think we're definitely seeing that.
Well, so and you guys are, and you mentioned the price. You guys are about what, $29, about $30 a domain right now.
Yeah, it depends on where you buy it from, and sometimes you can even get it for less than $20. Registrars, our retailers have promotions going on all the time, but the renewal price is typically anywhere between $20 and $30, depending on your retailer, on your registrar. Well,
and like you said, I mean, you make a good point too with the way you guys decided to price this. I mean, with .com, they are so cheap and we're cheaper and have kind of fluctuated in pricing. And people, you have the domain squatters that just buy up every, available name because it's cheap. And, you're left with kind of the bare bones and a bunch of crap websites. So I think it's great that you guys are charging, $29.99 or $30, whatever it may be, because it does keep that quality. And it sounds like you guys are seeing that. You guys are seeing more of quality production or quality websites on .co versus a bunch of domain squatters.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see a lot of that on. We have a website which is go.co, where you can see a lot of the websites that are being built on .co. We just select a few, and you can clearly see that there's some hardcore influencers and early adopters that are using .co for their next big thing on the web. That's really exciting for us to see because that's exactly what we want. We want to change the fabric of the internet. That's been our mission since we first started. We want to build a global brand around a domain extension, which is, in and of its own is sort of a weird concept. A brand making a domain extension into a global brand. So you can see some of that happening already with guys like Dave McClure start doing his fun with 500.co, Angel List on angel.co, Twitter using t.co. Yep. There's really cool, hardcore things that are happening on the internet that are being built on .co, and that's super exciting.
So do you feel like the brand is growing in the right direction, or kind of the right direction that you guys first envisioned it when you decided to kind of go this route?
Yeah, I definitely think so, and we're continuing to reinforce that by reaching out to, again, these influencers and a lot of the hardcore people in Silicon Valley, New York, London, etc., and getting them to use .co, and that drives the brand. That drives the brand forward, and we're seeing that happen.
That's exciting. So speaking of that, and I just wanted to touch on this because you and I, this is kind of how we first became engaged, was that as you mentioned, your brand is growing and you're reaching out to some of these top influencers. I know that you guys were recently at South by Southwest a few weeks ago, which it seems like it was so much longer than 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago. But what were you guys doing there at South by? I mean, I saw you guys were doing a little bit of a campaign, and there was a lot of orange T-shirts all around. But what were you guys doing there for .co?
And a lot of bandanas, a lot of orange bandanas. we actually spent one night, about 3 hours one night, just handing out bananas all over the street, which was kind of crazy. But to your question, when we first launched the company, everything was about .co, just trying to build awareness that .co exists, trying to let people know that it was an option, right? Because everybody on the internet sort of has this mindset that the internet is .com and that's it, right? It's a brand new product like anything else. So we spent a lot of time on building awareness. As we learned more about how our marketing was responding, or rather our customers were responding to our marketing, we realized, and we shifted a little bit into, instead of it being so much about .co and branding or building awareness for .co, we shifted into, let's build a community, let's build a network of evangelists. So let's grab our users, everyone who's building stuff on .co, and let's show them off to the world. And so that's what we did at South by Southwest. It wasn't, so you saw a lot of orange, but the whole thing was about showing off our community and all the cool things that are happening on .co. And that helps us turn every single user into an evangelist in the brand, and it worked out really well. At least for that event, it worked out really well. And we're going to reinforce that in 2012 and 2013.
Well, and I mean, just on that point, I mean, you guys have multiple sites, as you mentioned, that are highlighted on your website that are using the .co. So from my perspective, first going to your guys' website, the go.co, which is by far one of the greatest domain names.
Cool.
But when I first went there, seeing all these websites and really this community that I wasn't aware was a community. I mean, you see a bunch of websites that are highlighted and promoted on there. As you start looking at them, you realize that it is a part of a community. And I think that you guys are really building something special there, with that community idea and really the evangelists of the brand.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I think the genesis of why we're going that route is because we realize that we're not just selling a domain name. Mm-hmm. If you look at it as a domain name, it's just a ones and zeros in some computer, right? But it's a lot more than that. For our audience, for our community, it's actually an opportunity. It's a platform for them to build whatever they're dreaming about, whatever they think is going to change the world in the next 20 years. So it's not just this ones and zeros in a computer. It's much more than that. And once you get away from the idea that you're selling a domain name, that opens the door to so many new possibilities and to really get an emotional connection with our audience, and that's been a big shift in the company in the last year and a half.
So, with that, are you guys seeing more usage here in the States, or do you guys see a more global representation of the .co brand and domain?
So, it's a good question. It's definitely heavy in the U.S., and particularly because we've done a lot of stuff in the U.S. We built a lot of awareness in the U.S. When we first launched it. We've already done 2 Super Bowl ads, joint Super Bowl ads with GoDaddy. So clearly, it's because of the fact that we've been so focused in the U.S. Our 50% of our registrations happen from U.S.-based companies and entrepreneurs. Now, the rest is UK with about 12%, another 12% from other countries around Europe. Then we have Asia and a little bit of Latin America. Australia is actually pretty big as well. So it's definitely US-based, and the next biggest market is the UK.
So it kind of follows the global startup communities.
Yeah,
sounds
absolutely.
like it.
I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
and also keep in mind that in the U.S. is where you have the biggest problem of saturation of .com and some of these other extensions, right? So in the UK they use .co.uk a lot, and that's still, that's still not nearly as big as .com, or in Japan they use .co.jp. That's still not nearly as big as .com. So there's a lot of space for those domain extensions to grow. In the U.S., we are very, very saturated. So that's why we felt that this is the market where we would have the most impact, at least initially.
Well, and it sounds like you guys are. I mean, it sounds like you guys are growing in those numbers and definitely succeeding. So on that, what's next? I mean, you mentioned that you guys are going to be doing some more stuff here in 2012 and into 2013. What's next, and what can we expect from the .co domain as the year goes on?
Well, in terms of we have a pretty clear mission, which is we want the next Twitter, Facebook, or Google to be built in a .co. Once we see that happen, I think that's the day I'll probably have to quit and hand the company over to somebody else.
Juan, it'll probably be KyleEllicott.co. I'm just saying it very well may be my personal website.
That sounds good to me. Everybody asks sometimes, how can we help you guys? And our response is always be successful, because if you're successful, that means we're going to be successful too. But yeah, that's it. I mean, everything we do in the company is somewhat tied to this idea of being at the point of inception, right? Where ideas are being born, so that whatever idea you have in your mind now, whatever idea you're thinking about implementing in the next few weeks, months, that idea gets built on a .co. And it's a long-term bet, because ideas take years to mature and materialize. But that's what we're betting on. We're betting that the next big thing will happen on a .co. That the last 25 years of the web were .com, .net, .org. We want the next 25 to be about .co.
Well, Juan, I look very much forward to the next 25 years of .co. Thank you very much for jumping on with us today and talking and sharing all about .co. Before we sign off here, is there anything else you want to tell the global world out there about .co and kind of where they can get it, aside from, I'm sure GoDaddy has it, if there's any other registers that they could go to that you know of?
Yeah. You can get a .co just about anywhere. GoDaddy is a great registrar. You can you can come to our website go.co, and you can see all the different retailers that have it listed there. If you're thinking of the next big thing, put it on a co. That's it.
Awesome. Well, Juan, thank you very much again for joining us today. I greatly appreciate it. I know our audience does as well. And we look forward to seeing more .co's. And everybody check out go.co.
Thanks a lot, Kyle. Appreciate it.